Alright, y'all, let's get into Dua Lipa's new album, Radical Optimism. Y'all ready? Let's go.
I came to vibe, you came to function, just do that, baby. Don't worry about nothing, no.
What's good, y'all? It's your boy Bright here, the R&B kid, and I'm back again with another episode of On the Bright Side TV. Welcome back. How you doing? Hope you're doing very well. Listen, y'all, I definitely had to hop up on this camera so I could talk about my girl Dua Lipa's new album, Radical Optimism. For those of y'all who don't know, I love Dua Lipa. I'm low-key a stan for her. And, the first album was cool. The singles got me for sure. New Rules. I don't give a fuck. What really got me on the Dua Lipa train was that second album, Future Nostalgia. Man, that album in that era. I never did a video for that album, but one of my personal favorite pop albums to this day. Like, I love that project so much. And so I feel like that project cover made me a forever fan, and it just had me excited for anything she'll drop, moving forward in the future. To me, I feel like she's one of the most consistent pop girls of our time, and I feel like she's one of the ones that's just, she's so well intentioned, she's consistent, and I feel like she has some of the most potential out of all the crop of new pop girls in our generation to be like one of the greatest of our time. I think she definitely is. She's able to be in that top group when it's all said and done. So I love Dua Lipa down, so I definitely want to review this album. But before I do, quick reminder, for those of y'all who have not joined yet, please go support and join my Patreon. It's $3 a month, and on my Patreon I'm gonna have more exclusive content, my longer full reaction videos without edits. So you'll get your life with those. I have, my bright side mixes and just other videos that I won't have on my YouTube channel that I'll put on my Patreon will be there. So definitely go support, subscribe and join the community. $3 a month. The link is in the description down below. So definitely go subscribe and support. I appreciate y'all. But all right, y'all, let's get into the review of Dua Lipa's new album, Radical Optimism. Y'all ready? Let's go. All right, so like I said, this is Dua Lipa's third album. And in terms of the sound of this album and the direction, she said it herself, and after listening to the album, I can definitely confirm that, compared to her previous work, this album really was infused and was really based on more of like a europop, britpop, like, more of like a kind of like a more psychedelic dance pop vibe. And she employed pretty much mostly Kevin Parker of Tame Impala and Danny Elharl, as well as also former collaborators Ian Kirkpatrick and Andrew White, who crafted a lot of her previous hits and other album gems as well. So this album was mostly Kevin Parker and Danny Elharl, with a little bit some tracks produced by Andrew White and Ian Kirkpatrick. So a lot of new territory in terms of collaborators, but also some people she's worked with before that she's had great success with. So a really interesting formula to go into this third album with, but I think it worked in my opinion for her. Just in terms of the sound they created, I really feel like it's obviously very familiar, pop sound that that's her wheelhouse. But I really feel like with this album, she expanded and really kind of went into like a new territory, like with like more of that psychedelic, like europop, like it's kind of like a more grittier, darker dance sound in some songs, and just more of a just a lot of these songs feel like just have them more of that darker, like workout, like in the club, like. So it really has more of that Britpop sound with the Tame Impala's sound embedded throughout it as well. So I really wasn't expecting her to link up with Kevin Parker, but I really feel like the results worked out well. I feel like his sound, at least the sound that he gave her, gave Dua, I feel like it worked so well. And I really hope they continue to collaborate in the future, because I think his sound works for her very well, in my opinion. I don't know if everyone feels the way, but I feel like all the songs that he gave her really do work. They're a little bit different than songs she's done before, but I feel like he created songs that worked for her in her wheelhouse, and they're very familiar, but with like a new edge to it. So I thought it worked really well. All right, so before I get into the track by track review, I just want to get into what I think is, for me, my overall favorite part about this album, and that's definitely the writing and the theme of this album. I want to salute Dua for actually naming her album Radical Optimism, because I feel like she's one of the few artists these days that had an album title that made complete sense in terms of the actual messaging and the concepts and lyrics throughout the album. Like, it's not just a vibey title that just sounded good, and just a stamp on the project. Like this title of this album actually makes a lot of sense, and it really is significant. It really does signify what this album is really about at the end of the day. I really appreciate the writing and the theme of this album, because I feel like at this very juncture of my life, I feel like this album, even though it just came out, it's already meant so much to me, and I feel like I've already connected with it so much because of just what it's saying. So this album is mostly talking about love and dating, And that's definitely a big thing. But I feel like the themes of this album of just, trying to like look at the bright side of things, no pun intended, shout out to On the Bright Side TV, but really just, trying to be radically optimistic, looking at the bright side of things, being hopeful for like where you can go in the future, being appreciative of the good and the bad of what you've been through, appreciating the good because, it was amazing, whatever that was love or just whatever else is going on in life, appreciating those good things that happened because, they were good. And even appreciating the bad things that happen because of how much they taught you lessons and they helped you grow and evolve and become a newer and better, and more, more wise and more experienced person in life. Like, I really feel like so many of these songs in different ways are just all talking about, really trying to be hopeful and optimistic even in the darkest of times when you're going through bullshit and love and going through this trash ass dating pool, whether you're being stressed out at your job or with family or just personal issues, trying to figure out your purposes. Like I feel like in my life right now at this very juncture, I just turned 30 a couple weeks ago. Like I'm in my Saturn return, like that late 20s, early 30s period. All of us who are in that age group, I feel like we can all relate to like kind of going through this time right now where we have so many things that are stressing us out and really bogging us down in different ways. We're all dealing with different things. Some people are like, dealing with like, stress in dating and love, and they're sad and lonely about that. I can relate to that. A lot of people are going through stress at work and like trying to figure out like what their purpose is. So some people are going through like family drama. Some people are going through personal issues, whether it's thoughts of like, unaliving themselves or just substance. Like we're all going through so many different things, personal issues. And I really feel like at the end of the day, even though this album is mostly talking about love and dating, to me the main theme of this album is so symbolic for so many different areas of your life. To just be optimistic and keep hope alive for where you can go, take the good with the bad, and just gracefully taking the good with the bad and being aware of the fact that like at the end of the day, life is beautiful and the good things are good and then the bad things are hard to deal with, but you have to still be positive and keep it pushing and keep it moving and look at the best parts of every part of your life and not just stay in a negative space. So I really feel like that's just a good mantra for me. I feel like so many songs are good mantras for that, even though they're about love and they're cute pop songs. To me, these songs are really a lot deeper than they seem, just in terms of its messaging, even though they're cute pop songs. And I really feel like it's just a good reminder for me at this point in my life to just keep it pushing, remain positive, and really remain, no pun intended, radically optimistic about everything I got going on that I'm dealing with. And I feel like that's a good reminder for all of us in life. So for me personally, this album means a lot to me. I feel like these songs just hit differently in terms of the writing and the theme of this album. All right, now that we get into the track by track review, I'm just gonna give y'all quick thoughts on some of the key tracks, and not even just key tracks, but just some of the tracks I want to highlight off the album for y'all. First up, I want to talk about End of an Era. I love this song. When I first heard it, I was like, but after a few listens, I got into it fully. I really feel like End of an Era is such a refreshing sound for her, and it feels like nothing she's ever recorded, in my opinion. I don't feel like I've ever heard a song that sounds like that from her, and I love it for that reason alone. I really feel like it works so well as the intro for the album, just thematically, sonically. I feel like it works so well to really open up the project on a really bright, positive note. A really had this like tropical feel to it, this really carefree, uplifting feel to it. So I feel like it was the perfect song to start the album off with. And I really love the sweet and carefree vibe that it has. It's a really dope track. Next up is Houdini. We know Houdini. We know her. She's an amazing bop. I love Houdini. To me, in my opinion, Houdini is everything. It's literally a perfect pop song in my opinion, and I'll never forgive y'all for letting it go the way y'all did. I don't know what it is with y'all and Houdini, but the general population, GP, y'all did not rock with Houdini. And I get it, but I don't, because it's an amazing song. I don't know if it was timing, y'all didn't appreciate the sound, I don't know what it is, but to me, Houdini is like a perfectly constructed pop song, and y'all let it go, and I need to know why, because that song is so good. The first single for the album, so you've been heard it. I don't need to, ramble on about it, but yeah, man, that song is everything. Definitely, to me, one of her best songs to date, and a whole gem. I love that song. Next up is Training Season, the second single off the album. Came out in February, so we already know her. Love this bop as well. This is another song that's been kind of slow to really, take control of the charts, and at least in the US. And I kind of understand why, but I kind of don't. Because at the end of the day, it's not a song that's like, maybe it's not as like interesting or arresting as some of the stuff on Future Nostalgia and, even our first album. But I don't know. I feel like, to me, Training Season is is still to me like also like Houdini, like it's a perfectly constructed pop song. I feel like Training Season to me, it feels like it's written and produced so perfectly. It's just a perfect pop song in terms of how it's constructed and arranged. I feel like that melody is brilliant. And conceptually, it's definitely one of my favorite songs on the album because hello, like, come on, what are we doing? Like, I love the lyrics. I love the theme. It's so on point. It's so inspiring. It's for everyone to like, want the best for themselves and to make sure that anybody who's trying to come step to them comes correct. It's a great reminder for yourself. And, melodically, sonically, it's just a great record. To me, it's a perfect pop song. Definitely one of the highlights off the album. Love this song. What You're Doing. I definitely got to talk about What You're Doing. To me, one of my favorite tracks off the album for sure. What You're Doing really goes with more listens. I think when I first heard it, I was like, okay. But with more listens, that track goes. It's just a really good song. It's a really well-made record. And I think it'll be such a cool single in the future. And I hope it does become a single because it deserves. And, I just think, production-wise, it's a breath of fresh air. And it kind of sounds like nothing else that's out, in my opinion. But it still has like that familiar, funk and pop sound at its core. So I think it'll definitely be an accessible track. But I really love like this like darker, weirder edge that the music has. Even though it's still a like really lightweight pop, fun song. But I really love the sound that it has. That's familiar but also new for her. And I just think it's definitely one of the highlights off the album. So I definitely love What You're Doing. That's a song that gets better with more listens and it really does hit different for sure. What you doing to me, baby? Come on. That's a bop. French Exit. To me, another highlight off the album. French Exit has this really like cool like global sound to it, with the flute in the background and like those synths and those drums that were going crazy in the background. I love the drums on French Exit. They're crazy. Yeah, so it really has this like really cool global sound to it, but it also has like this like really chill like R&B vibe to it, in my opinion, with like the vocal arrangement and the pacing that I really love. I don't know if y'all feel the same way, but I really feel like it has like this cool like R&B vibe to it, just the way she was singing on it and the way it was just paced. I love that part about it. And honestly, I would really love to hear an R&B girl on a remix. I don't know if like we can make that happen, but I would love to hear like one of like the newer R&B girls like on a really cool remix to French Exit. I feel like it would work so well. Imagine the video, like the song, and then like whoever is the feature like their verse in a club, and like they're both in a club like ignoring dudes. Like I feel like it'll be a dope idea. Like that treatment will be so dope. Yeah, man. So definitely a highlight for me. And I gotta talk about the concept of this song. I feel like conceptually French Exit is so savage, and when I first heard it, I was like, damn. But honestly, to be honest, I'm actually so glad she made this track, because even though it's so savage and it's like, damn, like why you on this type of time? At the end of the day, she made a track that is real life, and this is how a lot of people really feel and really do behave. Whether it's good or it's bad. A lot of people do it because they should be doing it because, whoever they're dealing with is not worth their time and energy. So good for you. But then a lot of people do this not because the other person's, not worth their time and energy, but because they're just toxic and because they like to just play the field nonstop. And, so a lot of people do it for good and bad reasons, doing a little French Exit. But I really love that she made the song because for real, this is real life. Like ideally, we hate to admit when this happens to us or when we're the one doing it. But at the end of the day, a lot of people do this all the time, whether it's at a club or just, in a public outing or even on a date, like whatever it is, like, or just, whether it's a casual French Exit, like, for someone you've been in a situationship or talking to, like we've all done it or it's been done to us, and it's messed up, but it's real life. But what I like about this song is that, again, being about radical optimism, I like in this song that Dua is really framing it as like, even though this is messed up, I'm doing it in a way where I'm looking out for myself, and at the end of the day, there's no chance of this going bad if I dip. So, and I, again, going back to the thing of just looking at the bright side of this, like even though I'm dipping and it's whacked, I'm dipping, at the end of the day, I'm taking care of myself. I'd rather, just focus on me. And if this were to go bad, then I'm glad I dipped. And that's real life. So I appreciate the concept of the song. It's so savage, but I sympathize, because in today's dating pool, like I can't blame anybody for being like, you know what, before this goes left, let me just do my little exit. Like, so I feel that. And just, sonically to me, it's such a vibe. It's definitely one of the standouts on the album, just with the way it feels and the way it sounds. And I really loved the more chill vibe it had, but while having this like really savage concept. So it was a really dope track. Next up is Illusion, the third single off of the album. Love this track. This track is a song that I just never get tired of hearing. To me, Illusion is another perfectly constructed and arranged pop song. I think it's a perfect pop song. In my opinion, I feel like y'all have not really loved the singles off of this era so far. And I kind of get why, but I don't, because like I feel like Houdini, Training Season, and Illusion, in my opinion, they're three like perfect pop songs. I feel like she honestly kind of picked the perfect singles for the album, and y'all ain't been feeling them, which is a shame, but I love all these songs and I love the album tracks too. But yeah, Illusion to me is another great addition to just the amazing run of singles that she's had for this album, in my opinion. It's a really great record and I love the concept. Cause period, like I love what she's talking about this song. This track is another great reminder to just don't engage and don't give anybody your time that you know is gonna play with you. And you know, I love that, cause word, like we all need that reminder to like, you know, make sure we keep our eyes and ears open and look out for people that are trying to, make us fall for an illusion. Like, you know, we're not doing that. So I love the way this song is arranged. I love the lyrics. I love what it's talking about. It's so on point. You know what I'm saying? Period. It's a great reminder for all of us. And I really do hope it becomes one of the biggest songs off of this album, and you know, one of the biggest songs of this year, because it deserves to be. It's a really great record that to me is a new classic. And to me, it's one of the best hooks she's ever had. It's such an earworm. It's addictive. And it's a song that I just feel like I never get tired of hearing. Yeah, so shout out to Dua and, you know, Kevin Parker and Danny Harl on this song. Just a really great record. And shout out to Carolyn A-Line for help writing this song too. She ate the lyrics up. Next up, I want to mention Falling Forever. Falling Forever, to me, is a really well-produced and really sophisticated pop track. And I feel like it's a really cute cousin to Hallucinate off Future Nostalgia. And I feel like it feels like the Hallucinate for this era. Let me know if y'all feel the same way. But I feel like, yeah, to me, this feels like the Hallucinate of this era. Like the song that's just like, you know, really fast paced. You know, it feels like you can hear it at a festival going crazy. And it's one of those only songs that really sounds like it on the album. And it's really like, fast paced standout that to me, like Hallucinate, when I first heard it, it didn't really hit for me. But over time, I really come to appreciate this track a lot more. And it's funny because Hallucinate, when I first heard the album, when I first heard Future Nostalgia, Hallucinate was one of the only tracks I wasn't really feeling like that. I was like, oh, I don't like this song like that. Even though everyone else loved it, and it didn't click for me at first. But over time, I came to see the brilliance of Hallucinate, and I got it. At some point, I was like, okay, no, I get it now. I get it. Like, this track is actually lit. So that's kind of happened for me for Falling Forever. When I first heard Falling Forever, I was like, oh, okay, that's not bad, but it's not catching me like that. But over time, the more I hear, I'm like, okay, no, I'm getting into it. I kind of feel like at first something felt like it was missing for me, and I think I might still feel that way. Like I feel like something is missing in Falling Forever. I'm not sure what it is, but I might be tripping. I might be eating my words, and maybe talk to me in a couple weeks or a couple months, and I probably won't feel that same way. But yeah, to me, it definitely is a highlight sonically off the album. It's definitely one of the most sophisticated and one of the most well-produced tracks. It's a lot going on the track, but it all still sounds smooth and it's organized. So really not easy to achieve, and they did that really well in this track. But overall, yeah, really cool track. And I will say I'm in love with her vocal power that she displayed on the Hello. I love every time she did that shit, I loved it. I began my life. Like, I love that part. That's my favorite part of that song. The last track I want to highlight is Anything for Love. Man, Anything for Love. My only critique of this song is that it should have been longer. Like, Dua Lipa, what the hell? Like, this song was definitely an album gem. And just honestly, not even an album gem, but a gem in her catalog so far. And I just feel like it would have been so much better if it was longer. Like, by the time I was really getting to it, it was over. And it's like, damn. Like, yeah, so whether another verse or another run of the hook, like I feel like this song should have just been a little bit longer. I would have preferred, another verse and another hook, but at least one or the other. Like I really feel like this song could have used just another verse or hook or both. And just to make it a little bit longer, it would have been perfect. But it's still a great song. Like I said, to me, it's a gem in our catalog. It's a beautifully written and executed track. And to me, it feels like, a lyrical and conceptual highlight in her catalog so far. It's just a really well written, such a deep and beautiful song that we can all relate to. It's written so factually, and it's really a timeless song. Just talking about how we're all at the end of the day just looking for love, and how we'll all do anything for love, and just how a lot of us have lost hope in love, but at the end of the day, as human beings, we all are still just craving our person and just that feeling. And even through all the bullshit of today's society and the dating culture now, like we're all still looking for that. And I love how this song is a reminder of how, like, back in the day, like, all we used to do anything for love. Like, it's a really cute, timeless song written so well. Shout out to my girl Julia Michaels on the lyrics. She ate that up. Shout out to her, a classic songwriter of our generation. Shout out Julia Michaels and the team for writing this beautiful song. And I love that little cute interlude at the beginning of the song where they were all like joking around and just like talking about life and stuff before they decided to actually record the song. So I love that interlude. It was so cute. And I also, my other favorite part about the song was the beat switch up. I loved the beat switch up in the song. I loved how it was so cool to see this one song being equally amazing as a ballad at first, and then also was like kind of like a banger towards the end. And that's not easy to do, but like, it's so cool to see how it almost felt like two versions of the same song in one track. She gave us like the ballad, Anything for Love, and then she gave us the bop, Anything for Love, like the banger version in the same track. And that was so cool. I loved how at first it was like, just the piano, simple ballad, kind of had that throwback, retro feel, with old school music, just a piano and a voice, just talking about love. And then, boom, halfway through the song, boom, doom, 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 doom. Kind of get that, kind of that 80s retro vibe to it that I loved. And yeah, speaking of the 80s, that's another thing. I really feel like when the beat kicked in, I love how like the bells throughout the song and the synths really gave me like this like 80s, like kind of, early Janet Jackson feel that I loved. I don't know if y'all feel me on that, but I really feel like the second half of Anything for Love gave me this early, this 80s Janet Jackson, or just the whole 80s pop dance sound in general. It gave me that vibe. And I loved how this song felt so nostalgic, but also, current and futuristic. Like, it felt timeless. It felt like old school. It felt like new school. It felt like future, all on the same track. So it really was really a dope track, and to me, one of the highlights of the album for sure. All right, so that was the track by track review. Now let me end off with just my overall thoughts on the album, good and bad. I guess the first thing I'll say about this album overall is it might not be that noticeable, upon, an initial listen. Like, at first, when you listen to this album, it might not be that noticeable, but I truly appreciate the sonic familiarity, but also departure that this album had compared to Future Nostalgia throughout much of this album. Like, I really feel like this album felt like a really great cousin to that album. Like, it felt like a great, next step after Future Nostalgia, in terms of the fact that a lot of these songs sound similar to that album, but there's also so much new material here in terms of the sonic direction and just the sounds and the arrangements. A lot of things are very new on this album. Namely in particular tracks like, End of an Era, Houdini, French Exit, Anything for Love. I feel like those tracks in particular are tracks that just kind of gave a new vibe and something I feel like I've never heard from her before on past albums. But she also has a lot of tracks on this album that sound like they could have fit in on her first and second album as well. Like, like a Training Season, or like a like a What You're Doing, or like like an Illusion, Falling Forever, Happy For You. Like, all those songs sound like they could have been on past albums. So I like how she gave us a good mix of familiar territory, so the fans can feel comfortable, but also taking us in a new direction and trying to evolve her sound and evolve her image and sonic direction. And that's how you really become a legendary and classic artist, is by keeping your blueprint, but also not being afraid to add in new layers and try new things. And I like how Dua subtly really went into a new territory on this album while still keeping that familiar vibe that she has. So, and I think her and a team of producers and songwriters did it really well, having a good balance of like songs that kind of pushed the needle for her into a new zone and into a new vibe, but still having songs that felt comfortable and sound like old her in a new, evolved, and refreshing way. So love that. Yeah, so kind of just going off of that, I really feel like, this album initially and upon further listens, it definitely wasn't as, interesting and as arresting as Future Nostalgia was. I remember when I first heard Future Nostalgia, I was like, whoa, like this album is a game changer. I don't think I felt that way about this album in particular when I first heard it as a whole. I still love this album for what it is. I think it's a great project, but I definitely will admit that I think, on my first listen, even after, a couple more listens, now that I've had time to live with it, I don't think it's as immediately engaging and as classic and iconic as Future Nostalgia is. But that's fine. It doesn't need to be. I know everyone wanted it to be, but not every artist can make an album like Future Nostalgia every goddamn time. And Future Nostalgia to me is a different level of an album in terms of not only its success but also just the quality of that album. But to me, this album is right up there with that album. And I love that Dua wasn't trying to really replicate future nostalgia. And I love how she wasn't trying to like, redo that moment in that era. Because to me that would have been corny, just trying to, redo what you just did. And I love how, like I said, like she gave us something familiar with how this album sounds and how it feels and its concepts and all that. She gave us something familiar, but she also, took us in a new, different visual and sonic direction with these singles and with just the album as a whole. And I really feel like I don't fault this album for not being what Future Nostalgia was, because I feel like this album still holds up well for her, in my opinion. Like this album still holds up well in her catalog. It holds up well for this, this time period. It holds up well. I think it's an album that will grow over time. It's gonna get this album that will just sound better over time. And it's an album that to me is solid. And I think a lot of people are not gonna give it props because they're wanting a Future Nostalgia Part 2. But this album to me is a cousin to that album, and I love it for that. But it has a different vibe, but it still has a familiar foundation of that album and her first album as well. But I think it's interesting, comparing this album to her previous albums. I think that Radical Optimism is way more like darker and edgier in sound, while being like lighter, like lyrically and conceptually. So it's really interesting. Like I think her past albums maybe had more heavier material in terms of the lyrics and the concepts. Whereas I think, but they had like lighter production and like, they were more carefree pop songs, where I feel like this album has, it's a lot more lighter, and it's what's talking about, like it's about being, happy and optimistic and, looking for the best things in life and just pushing and keeping it pushing and keeping it moving. But while having like these darker productions that are more edgier and grittier and darker. So it's really an interesting juxtaposition that I love that she took a risk on. I think it worked for her. I don't think it worked for a lot of people, but for me it worked, and I love it. And I think so many of the songs feel different at different times and like, locations and vibes. So like depending on like, the time of your life or like where you are or like just the vibe you're in, I think all these songs can sound different and feel different at different times, different places and different vibes, which I think is amazing. I don't know how, but I think Dua really created an album where this album can definitely evolve, for each person. Like all the songs can evolve, the project can evolve as a whole. And these songs can all sound good at one point or not that good at one point, or they could, they can mean different things for you at different points in your life and different spaces and different times. So I think it's a really cool thing that Dua achieved, in my opinion. And I definitely expect to grow with this album in new and unexpected ways over time. So hats off. So kind of going back to what I was talking about with the themes of this album, and I just want to really highlight what I think are some of the main themes of this album. I really appreciate the first theme, which I think is about, just, having maturity and an optimistic perspective on love, whether it's past love, present love, or future love that's not happened yet, particularly on tracks like, End of an Era, What You're Doing, and Falling Forever. I feel like those tracks are all about like really just being hopeful and optimistic in love and, future love that hasn't happened yet, or just, present love that's happening right now. Like, so I really feel like those are the tracks that are about, just kind of falling in love, or just feeling like this new feeling and the best parts of new love and what love and the potential of love. So I feel like those tracks are kind of covering that territory. And then we definitely have some tracks that are really just talking about just trying to remain positive and hopeful and, just keeping it pushing through heartbreak and through the negative shit in love. And to me, those tracks are like, These Walls and French Exit. I feel like those tracks are just talking about like, when things go left, just trying to like, do what's best for yourself, like, be honest, be realistic, and keep it pushing, and just try to remain optimistic in the midst of like this love breaking down, but being real about what's going on and doing what's best for you. So I feel like those tracks are about that. And I also love that Dua just let there be so many songs on this album that can really operate as like mantras for all of us, or just many of us to use in our lives to remind ourselves to like show up as our best selves and fully like know and stand in, what we believe in and what we deserve and what we deserve for ourselves. So I really feel like that's one of the main things on this album as well. And I feel like that's definitely in tracks like, Houdini, Training Season, Illusion, pretty much all the singles so far, which I love, and also Anything for Love. I feel like those tracks are all about just being like, nah, like I know what I deserve, I know what I'm worth, like I'm gonna stand in like, what I need from life and what I need from love and all these other places. Like I really love the confidence and the assuredness in those tracks. And like I said, I feel like they're all great mantras for us to, show up as our best selves and get what we deserve out of life. So I love those tracks in particular for that messaging. And then the last theme I think I noticed on this album definitely was, towards the end, the last few tracks, namely, Hello Maria and Hello Happy For You. Like, to me, these tracks are a great way to end off the album. Just kind of talk about, taking the high road and looking for the best in life. Even when, when you talk about like an ex, like with Maria, she's like, your ex, like, I can tell that person's still probably on your mind, and you're still running your heart, but like, I can appreciate that, like, what Maria did for you, like, it's helping, it's helping our relationship, and it's helping you be the best person that you've been. Like, so I love that maturity and just acknowledging how an ex made someone better for you, and not being salty or pressed about it, but appreciating it and appreciating that pattern in life, and just being thankful and appreciative for it, and not being like, oh, which I think is dope. And then, ending off with Happy For You, I love that Dua's at a place where she can take the high road and be like, you know what? Even though, we didn't work out, like, you're gone, you dating somebody new, we're not a thing no more. Like, I'm happy for you because, you got what you deserved, you got what you wanted, and I see you doing your thing, you're living your life, like, and I'm doing me, and I'm good too. So it's like, I love that. And I feel like more of us need to get to that point where we can be in that space where it's like, okay, this breakup went wrong, or this thing didn't work out in my life, but it's cool. I'm gonna focus on me, you focus on you, or that thing focus on that thing, and I'm not gonna sit here and be salty, but I'm gonna be happy for that person, because why should I sit here, unless they like did you dirty, like that makes sense. But it's like, if it was just if we just grew apart, things didn't work out, like, okay, be happy for that person, like, easier said than done. But I appreciate that Dua is good, and other artists that just give us mantras like this in life to remind us to be happy for people, knowing how that's gonna improve and improve your own psyche and improve your own life when you are fully living in happiness for other people. That can only do nothing but come around back to you and improve your own life. So it's a good reminder for all of us. So I love that. That was a great closer for the album. Perfect way to close the album. Last thing I'll say about the album, I definitely don't hate any of these tracks. I really do like every song on the album, and I appreciate every song for what it is. But I guess I'll say, like, initially when I first heard the album, I don't think I feel this way now for sure, because all these tracks have grown on me. But I think when I first heard the album, just gotta give some context as to maybe songs that are not as good, I guess. The songs that I feel like at first it didn't connect with me as much as the tracks that I really do love off the album, I'd say were probably, especially These Walls. That track in particular, I was like, oh, okay. Even though everyone like loves this track when the album first came out, to me it wasn't a highlight. And I guess at times I could say maybe Falling Forever and Maria and Happy For You, like those tracks, I was like, they didn't connect with me as much as the other tracks off the album. But I don't think I feel that way now. I definitely love all these tracks now, and they definitely all grown on me over time for sure. So I don't hate any of them for sure. But I think when I first heard the album and these tracks didn't connect with me as much, I guess I wondered if it made me wonder like what other material or what other songs were left on the cutting room floor that didn't make it to this album that probably would have been better than these songs. I don't know if that's the case. We'll have to ask Dawn, our team, if she feels like any songs were better that maybe just didn't fit into the album sonically or conceptually. But yeah, it kind of made me wonder what else she recorded. But now that I've lived with all these songs, I definitely love them all for sure. There's something that I hate on this album for sure. But I definitely have songs I love more than others, even though they're all great. So I guess I'll go into, kind of ending off the video. My favorite songs off the album. I do appreciate every song. And it's only 11 tracks, but I damn near love more than half of the album for sure. My favorite tracks are definitely End of an Era, Houdini, Training Season, What You're Doing, French Exit, Illusion, and Anything for Love. Those are my favorite tracks off the album. And I'm also low-key starting to really love Happy For You. That song is a really classic, beautiful song that just feels like an epic. It feels so cinematic. It feels classic. It's so well made. And it feels like a really great grand finale to like this movie that is this album. So yeah, that one's really creeping up on me too. But yeah, man, but I really do love this whole album. And in terms of my rating for this album, I was going back and forth between a 3.5 and a 4. I feel like a 3.5 is fair. But to be honest, this album is consistent. There's no track that I really hate like that. And to me, it's really well made. It's well done. So you know what? I feel like I had to give this album a 4 out of 5 stars, which I feel like is fair. If you felt like it was a 3.5, I'm not mad at you. I was kind of going with that at first, but this album was really good. So I think a lot of people think it's probably mid, fine, but I think it's a great album. So I think I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I feel like that score feels good to me. This album is solid. Is it future nostalgia? No, but it's a great addition to our catalog, and I love it for what it is. It's great on its own, and I think all these songs, they were just made well. You could tell they took their time to really produce, write the hell out these songs, produce them so well, and arrange them. and it really was just a well-made album. So to me, it gets a 4 out of 5. But let me know what y'all thought about that rating, and let me know what y'all would give it down below. But alright, y'all, that was my review of Dua Lipa's new album, Radical Optimism. Let me know what y'all thought about the album down below. Do you guys hate it? Do you love it? Do you think it was okay? It could have been a little bit better. You know, give me all your thoughts down below about this album. Let me know what are your favorite tracks. Let me know what are the tracks you're not really feeling like that. Let me know if you have any ideas for, you know, her next singles. I think next single should be, you know, it looks like These Walls might be the next one because it seems like everyone loves that one, and that's fine. But maybe after These Walls, I personally feel like What You're Doing should be a single. And then I also think I could see Falling Forever being a single. I could see Happy For You being a single as well. To kind of end off the era, like, you know, late this year into next year, I can see like final singles after What You're Doing and These Walls. I could see maybe, yeah, Falling Forever or Happy For You being like, you know, the final singles off this album. I wonder if we'll get like a deluxe edition from the album, because, you know, Future Nostalgia, we got like the Moonlight edition, and we got like the club. She made like a dance club edition that had like remixes. Like she made the remix album. So I wonder if we'll get like, you know, a deluxe or like a remix album or like something else to kind of make this out, you know, to kind of lengthen this era. I wouldn't be mad at it, because I feel like these songs are all so good that I would love to get like, you know, more or, you know, variations of them. I would love, and I feel like Dua is probably planning that already. So I don't know what it'll be, but I'm excited for it. But let me know what y'all think in terms of, like, you know, things she should do for promotion, like, you know, things y'all want her to do that she's not done yet. You know, just give me all your thoughts below on this whole era down below. Let me know what y'all think. But yeah, y'all, hope y'all enjoyed the review. If, like I said already, if you haven't checked out my Patreon, definitely go subscribe and join the community down below. Appreciate y'all. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, okay? But alright, y'all, this has been your boy Bright, the R&B Kid. Thank you for watching. But for now, I'm signing off, baby. Bye, y'all. Peace.
I came to vibe, you came to function, just do that, baby. Don't worry about nothing, no, 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 no. I came to vibe, you came to function, just do that, baby. Don't worry about nothing, no, no, no. Relax just a little bit. You don't gotta worry, you can just